Okay, so to multiply fractions, we have discovered that we need to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. An example we looked at on our previous handout was 2/3 times 3/4, so multiplying those numerators, multiplying those denominators, and then simplifying. And then this last part just shows us how this would work with any numbers. So a over b, with a and b being any numbers, times c over d, and just showing that you would multiply straight across. However, b and d, in other words your denominators cannot be 0. Okay, so let's look at a few examples here. So 1 times 1, 5 times 3, we would get 1/15 there. For the next one, 5 times 1 and 7 times 3, 5 over 21, 7 times 2, 9 times 5, 14 over 45. Those are all already in simplest form. Go ahead and try the next 4, and then if you need to simplify, make sure you do that. So pause the video and give those a try for me. Okay, go ahead and check your answers to those 4. I do want to show you a little shortcut on numbers 3 and 4. So on number 3, I did 3 times 2 and 7 times 3, and then I just simplified, and that works just fine. But there is a shortcut you can take before doing that, which works really well, especially when you have larger numbers. So, for example, 3/7 times 2/3. What you can do is cross-simplify. So I'm going to look at the numbers that are diagonal from each other. So in this case, 3 and 3, they can both be divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 becomes 1. 3 divided by 3 becomes 1. Now I can multiply 1 times 2 and 7 times 1. Go ahead and try that method with number 4 as well. Okay, now we're going to take a look at a word problem here. So we have 2/3 of a bag of flour here in our picture. We use 3/4 of the flour to make some empanada dough. We want to know how much of the entire bag we're going to use to make the dough. So I highlighted my important information, and I put a box around my question to make sure I go back and answer it in a complete sentence. So what I'm trying to find is 3/4 of 2/3. So I'm going to multiply 3/4 times 2/3. So we can just multiply straight across. 3 times 2, 4 times 3, and then simplify to 1/2. We could also use our method of simplifying first. So with that method, I'm going to set up my problem. I can take 3 and 3 and I can simplify those both to 1. And then when I look at the other diagonal, 4 and 2, those can both be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. So now I just have 1 times 1 and 2 times 1. No need to simplify. So I use 1/2 of the entire bag. Okay, let's take a look at mixed numbers now. So when working with mixed numbers, we are just first going to write each mixed number as an improper fraction. Then from there, we're just going to multiply just like we did with fractions. So multiplying the numerators, then multiplying the denominators. So let's take a look at some examples together. 1/2 times 2 and 3/4. So a quick review here. When I'm writing a mixed number as an improper fraction, I want to take the denominator and multiply it by my whole number. Okay, so in this case, 4 times 2, I'm going to get 8. Then I want to add that numerator. So then 8 plus 11, 8 plus 3, that gives me 11. so 11 fourths. I want to keep the same denominator. So this is going to become 11 fourths. So my new problem is 1/2 times 11 fourths. So 11 times 1 and 4 times 2, which is 11 eighths. And then I want to go ahead and change that back to a mixed number. So 8 goes into 11 one time. There would be 3 left over. Let's go ahead and try another one. So in this case, 7 times 3, so I multiplied that, and then I'm going to add the 5. So 7 times 3 is 21, plus the 5, there's 26 sevenths multiplied by 1/9. So I have 26 times 1, 7 times 9. There are no common factors there, so that is in simplest form. Even if they are larger numbers, it just matters if they have a common factor. Doesn't matter how big the numbers are. Okay, last example on this page. So 8 times 2 and 2 times 1 is what I'm adding. So 8 times 2 is 16, and then I'm adding the 1, so I get 17 eighths. Multiplied by 2/6. We can use our cross simplifying here. 17 and 6 don't have any common factors, but 8 and 2 can both be divided by 2. So 8 divided by 2 becomes 4, 2 divided by 2 becomes 1. So I have 17 24ths, and that's already simplified. All right, these next 3 examples have 2 mixed numbers that you're multiplying. So the only difference here is that you need to change them both to improper fractions before you can multiply. So my first example, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4. So I'm going to have 9 fifths. And then 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2, so 11 thirds. Okay, and then I can cross simplify here. So 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3. So then I have 3 times 11 and 5 times 1. I do need to change this back to a mixed number. So I know 5 is going to go into 33 6 times, which is 30, so that means there's 3 left over. So 6 and 3/5. On the next one, 5 and 3/4. 5 times 4 is 20, plus the 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 1. I cannot cross simplify here, unfortunately, so I do have to multiply across. 23 times 13 is 299, and then 4 times 3 is 12. So there's no way to simplify those numbers. I do just have to turn it into a mixed number. So we probably don't know off the top of our head how many times 12 goes into 299. So this is where our knowledge of long division will come into play. I'm going to go over to the side, and I'm going to take 299 and divide it by 12. So 12 goes into 2 0 times. It goes into 29 twice. 12 times 2, 24. Add my 0, and then subtract. Okay, now 12 goes into 59 4 times, and 12 times 4 is 48 with 11 left over. So now I can write my mixed number. 24 is going to be my whole number. I have 11 left over out of 12. 24 and 11 twelfths. Okay, last example here. 8 times 3 is 24, and I add the 7. That gives me 31 eighths. 5 times 2 is 10. Add the 2. That's going to give me 12 I can cross simplify here to avoid having to do 31 times 12. 31 and 5 don't share any common factors, but 8 and 12, they can both be divided by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is going to give me 2. 12 divided by 4 is going to give me 3. So that gives me 93 over 10. 10 goes into 93 9 times. We would have 3 left over. Okay, go ahead and try the next 4 on your own. So pause your video and then you can check your answers when you're done. All right, go ahead and check those answers. Make sure you simplified or put them into mixed numbers if they were improper fractions. Okay, and then last problem here, we're going to look at this in a word problem. So in the example at the bottom here, we have a city that's resurfacing a basketball court. So what we have to do is find the area of the court so they know how much area to resurface. So we can see here that this court is 21 1/3 meters by 13 1/2 meters. So thinking about previous years, we know that to find the area of a rectangle, we must take the length times the width. Little bit of geometry here today. So to shorten that, we can just say that the area equals the length times the width. I wrote a cursive L. You often see that for length, just so it doesn't get confused with a 1. So my length is 21 1/3. We're multiplying that by 13 1/2. We are going to have bigger numbers here. We're talking about a basketball court, so it is pretty large. So when I change those to mixed numbers, 21 times 3 is going to give me 63 plus the 1 up here. So I now have 64 thirds. Okay, and then 13 times 2 is 26. We add the 1 and get 27 halves. We want to try to cross simplify here because, again, we have some large numbers. So 64 and 2, those can both be divided by 2. So 64 divided by 2, we're going to have 32. 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. But then 3 and 27, we can cross simplify there. Those can both be divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay, so now we essentially just have 32 times 9. So you may have to do a little bit of scratch work here, or you can just think 30 times 9, okay, that's 270. 2 times 9, that's 18. 270 plus 18 is going to give us 288. Okay, so when I go to answer this in a complete sentence, although we didn't have a question, I boxed the statement that we were looking at, find the area of the court. So I would say the area of the court is 288, and no naked numbers here, so 288, we're talking about meters, and since it's area, we multiplied the meters by the meters, we would say 288 meters squared. Remember, let me know if you have any questions on this. Fill out the examples, check your answers, but if you have questions, let me know.